The PlayStation 2 is at the top of the throne for best-selling console of all time, having sold over 155 million units worldwide. I know the Nintendo Switch is inching closer to that, but for the time being, the PS2 is still king. Now, it's also interesting when you look at the breakdown of regions and see that the US and Europe each bought close to 55 million PS2s, with Europe having bought slightly a bit more than the US, but when you look at Japan and the rest of the world, they bought less than either the US or Europe. It doesn't really mean a lot, but hey, it's an interesting breakdown, I suppose. Regardless of where you were in the world at the time, there's really no denying the impact of the PS2. Now, over the years, there have been continued support for the PS2 from many third-party companies, but one company in particular that I have grown fond of is Brook. They make all sorts of accessories and are widely praised in the fighting game community for their different arcade stick boards and adapters bringing compatibility for old arcade sticks to new systems, or even the reverse, new sticks and controllers to old consoles. Their Wingman series of adapters have been pretty awesome in my opinion. I love the one they made for the Sega Saturn and Dreamcast, and they previously did have an adapter for the PS2, the P3, P4 to P2, which they have supported over the years as they typically do, but due to updates to controllers from Microsoft, the adapter wasn't able to use newer Xbox controllers. So now they have chosen to produce an updated adapter, the PS2 Wingman, which not only ups the controller compatibility, but also looks a hell of a lot nicer than the previous adapters. This adapter is about the same size and form factor to a PS2 memory card, just a bit thicker. So this new adapter not only works on the PS2, but also the original PlayStation and the PlayStation Classic mini console. So this adapter, it allows the use of tons of wireless Bluetooth controllers, like the PS5 DualSense, the PS4 and 3 DualShock controllers, Xbox Elite, the new Series S and X controllers and Xbox One controllers, the Switch Pro controller, and plenty more. Plus, a ton of different wired controllers as well, like a bunch of different arcade sticks. So this isn't the only thing it does though. You can fairly easily remap buttons if you need, which can come in handy depending on the controller you are using. Like some arcade sticks, their layout may not work for you, and if the game you're playing doesn't have button configurations built into it, you could just remap everything to how you like. So we also have a turbo function that can be set to any of the buttons, and you can also change the frequency to make the turbo slower or faster. You have 5 levels of turbo, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 presses per second, and you can easily cycle through them. There are a lot of cool little features here, I think. So syncing wireless controllers to the Wingman PS2 is fairly simple. Put your controller into pairing mode and press the button on the Wingman for a couple seconds, and it just connects. The button on the Wingman is also a light indicator that will change color depending on the mode you are in, like when you're doing remapping or turbo settings. Overall, this is a fairly simple product to use in my opinion. The only thing that takes some thought on how to do is the remapping and turbo. But once you've done that a couple times, it's pretty easy to remember how it's done. So while testing this out on the PS2, I had no issues with any of the controllers I used. But also to note, the Switch Pro is supposed to be better supported with this new adapter. I did read that the previous adapter, the Switch Pro, had some latency issues, but that has been fixed here. But I also tried out the PS5 DualSense controller and the Xbox Series controller, and those both synced up quickly, gave me no issues at all. And I also tried using the new 8BitDo arcade stick in Bluetooth mode, and that also synced up and worked without issues. Another controller I tried was the new 8BitDo wired Xbox controller. Just plugged it right into the front of the PS2 Wingman, and it worked. There's so many controllers that you could use here, but everything I tested, I had no issues with. If you do wind up buying one of these though, and you come across the problem, Brook has been known to actually listen to their customers and work on fixes and get those updates out there. I have rarely found a company who is this involved in the community. I mean, I see them all over the place on social media and whatnot talking to people. It's really nice to see. So whenever I've bought a Brook product and I've come across an issue, I reach out immediately, and sometimes like, oh, we're already working on that type of thing. And they get updates out there. I love that. But okay, let's move on to the PlayStation Classic real quick. So if you have a stock PlayStation Classic, pretty much everything works just like it does on the PS1 or PS2. But you do have to use an additional cable to plug the adapter into the PlayStation Classic, as this system does use USB instead of the original ports connections. Not as clean a looking solution as using it on the original consoles, but it still works nicely in my opinion. So any of the controllers I used on a stock PlayStation Classic, the left analog stick copied the D-pad inputs, and you could use either while playing the games. Worked pretty nice, had no issues there. Now, I personally don't use my PlayStation Classic stock, so of course I had to try this adapter using the Autobleem hack. I cannot speak to any other hacks that are available. I only use Autobleem. It's my favorite, and hey, we've talked about it a lot on this channel. So at first, I was a little bamboozled. The system with Autobleem doesn't recognize the controllers, so hey, that's actually an easy enough fix. You use an original controller plugged in the Player 2, go into the hardware menu options, and set up a new controller. So this can be a little confusing at first, but the only things you need to map are the D-pad, the face buttons, the shoulder buttons, and start and select. Everything else you'll need to skip, or you risk screwing up the configuration. Don't set up anything to do with analog sticks or the PS button, and you'll be fine, and the controller will function, including the left analog stick to mimic the D-pad. Now, if you want to use both analog sticks, you can play games through RetroArch emulators and set up the controller from there. But yeah, just worth pointing out, it's going to work just the same as it does on stock, as long as you do that configuration the way I said. So initially, I was getting thrown off because I was trying to do the analog stick configurations in Autobleem, and it just wouldn't work, and it would mess everything up. So yeah, keep that in mind. I never had to set up a controller with Autobleem before, so I'm not sure if this is just how it works or if this was just a unique situation. But hey, I just bring up my actual experiences here. So after having used this adapter for a couple weeks, I can see how useful this will be for a lot of people, especially people who love playing the original PS1 or 2 consoles. The adapter looks really nice, and it works without any problems that I have discovered. I think it's an added bonus that it works with the PlayStation Classic, but for sure, for me, it will get more use on the original systems. I just have so many options for the PlayStation Classic, but hey, this adapter, it's very versatile, and you may have a use for it with all these different systems, and I love that it has compatibility across the original consoles and the PlayStation Classic. Like I said, a little bit of an added bonus in my opinion. So the adapter is releasing in August after it had just debuted at EVO this year, so a few places should be stocking them, including Focus Attack. I'll find whatever links I can and put them down below. But hey, really do appreciate you guys watching. Really loving this product, and I know a lot of people have been looking forward to it. So let me know what you think. Really do appreciate it. Catch you on the next one. Bye.